is now the now? Now is somewhere, he says. YouTube's delay drives us nuts. Hey, everybody. This is Through a Therapist's Eyes. On Thursday nights, we do YouTube Lives. We record at about 6:15. And here in a minute so, you'll hear us turn the main live mics on for the Spotify's and Apple podcasts and all of that stuff. We got Mr. John Pope hanging out.
Nice to be with y'all.
And Miss Victoria Pendergrass.
Hi.
What's up?
What's up?
We're going.
We're going.
Today was kind of a slow day. So.
She's a little sleepy today.
I am. I'm exhausted.
We're gonna be talking about conflict resolution is the agenda today. So that's my YouTube update. That's my YouTube intro.
That's all we got.
That's all we got. That's all we do.
Short and sweet.
Yep.
To the point.
Yep. You been busy, John?
Yes, I have been very busy. And so too busy.
You guys are both like need energy pills.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is it? Do that? I don't know.
Wow.
Energy pills.
Yeah.
I probably have some leftover Celsius today.
I am
not drinking.
so.
Yeah. If I. No.
No. Yeah,
No.
no. Yeah.
Because then I definitely will not sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. You asked me if I've been busy, and I think Victoria and I both have been going through the process of renewal of our license.
Yes.
And because we're so highly educated,
Yes.
That's
we're
correct.
supposed to take a lot of hours
Continuing
to educate.
endlessly.
And then
Yeah.
if you were like me, we have 2 years to do this.
Honestly,
might I
particularly
add.
if you're having trouble with Louisiana, John,
Yeah.
you might want to contact them, and doing this show should give you CEU credits.
You know, you're right.
Yeah.
You just might have to
Yeah.
submit like a paperwork that says like
Right.
what all
what,
we do.
what the topics were and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I just haven't, my board, I mean, they haven't been, I'm getting in
Well,
trouble
I didn't
on
even
YouTube
think about
here.
that.
This would
Oh,
be
yeah.
considered. Would this be considered research, or would it be
I think it's teaching.
teaching? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
for sure.
But they're generous that way.
Are they?
So yeah.
Yeah,
Then-
the LCMHCs are a lot more generous than.
You said that. I
social
mean, I
workers.
actually didn't want to deal with the counseling board. I felt like they were a little bit more difficult. I thought we were kind of more lenient.
Okay,
you know, but-
initially, yes, it's a lot of stuff you got to turn in. It's a lot of things on the application. It's a lot. But once you get into the renewal process, as far as like continuing education, like I did all mine online, where I
Yeah.
just had to read an article,
Did you get some
answer a
substance abuse,
test.
by the way?
I did do some substance abuse.
Yay, you!
Yeah.
Good
and,
job. Good job.
And so then, but I think it's always funny because we have 2 years to do it. I waited until like less than a month ago
Yeah.
to do mine.
Always.
See, now I do it every year but I do wait till the end.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's-
tune your. We're ready to go, Neil. I think when you are, typing's done and all. All right, we're ready to
Okay.
go, and we're gonna do a Hunter Biden current event, just so
okay.
you maybe tune your brains in to think about
Okay.
what you think about when it comes to that. So,
Okay.
all right, ready to rock and roll. Hi there, this is Through a Therapist's Eyes. I am your host, Chris Gazdick, hanging out with Mr. John Pope over there. Hi, sir.
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right,
Hi.
and Miss Victoria Pendergrass.
Hi.
So we're going to be talking about conflict resolution. It's actually an old term, to be honest with you, I think, but really about relationships and how we work through problems and conflicts and that type of thing. And we'll have a current event. But this is Through a Therapist's Eyes, where you get insights in your home and personal time in your car, but it's not the delivery of therapy services in any way. We are sitting here on June the 13th.
Yes.
Correct.
So close to Friday the 13th.
It was not Friday the 13th. It is
Thursday
the 13th. And I do have in hand the book.
I know.
The marriage book has come in. Pub date of December the 11th. Thank you.
Yeah.
Snaps, snaps, snaps.
Very cool. The only way you can get it is in the office. So stop by and hang out, and we'll get you one. But I'm pretty excited about it.
I like the green eyes.
You like the green eyes?
Yeah.
I do like the green. The green really pops.
Yeah, it
does.
It surprised me holding the first book and the second book in the hand and to feel the difference.
Have you held both of them? They're so like. Okay, the newer one is
Do you
a little
feel
bit big.
you feel power?
The power.
Well,
No,
the newer one is a little bit bigger and a little thicker.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well,
Well, it's 50,000
thicker.
versus 30,000 words. I guess I have more to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. Contact it through therapisteyes.com is where you contact us. Guys, this is the human emotional experience, which we do endeavor to figure out together.
Why do you not have that in some sort of cool art form hanging on the wall in your office?
Neil?
Because at this point in your career,
I don't think he spoke. Did you see he just sort of looked there? Oh.
oh, don't put this on Neil.
Oh.
You do it. It's your office.
Shoot.
But you know how I have like my Hamilton quote on my thing, my like favorite thing, my favorite Hamilton quote? You need to like get a cool thing that like makes it cool.
I'm
and, like,
just lazy
artwork,
about this sort of stuff.
and then like post it somewhere, and then it's that
this
like
is where I struggle with like
reminder.
I'm so busy, Victoria, to be honest with you, that it's
Okay,
keeping
if
my
someone
desk
out
clear.
there wants to get Chris a gift,
Yes, do that. This is the
Create-
human emotional experience, which we endeavor to figure out together.
yes, and then frame it,
Some graphic.
make it look really cool,
Yeah?
or whatnot. And
That would
then
be
you
cool
can-
if it
then
came
you
in the
can like
mail.
hang it up on your wall.
What is the difference between conflict and problems? I feel like there's a little bit of a difference. Which comes first in the apology or forgiveness cycle, and then how to resolve conflicts. So, but I got a current event first that I want us to rap about for a minute. That is, I think, a really important topic that has gone on with the news in the political vector of our society, right? And this is the Hunter Biden case. So I'm curious if you guys have even tuned into this thing at all, or if you've checked out from, Fox News and One Nation and CNN and the like. Do you know what's going on with the trial? It's now done.
He was found guilty on all 3 counts.
Right. Victoria, have you been dialed into this at all?
Can you not tell by my face?
Not sure.
No idea.
No idea, says Victoria. Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Hunter Biden is a very provocative and salacious kind of guy.
That's a person.
There's a lot going on with him.
Look,
why don't
I
you,
don't
why don't
even
you break
know.
down, John, what's going on with the case?
Well, the case was, I think, was that he, the particular case was that he had lied on an application for a gun permit, and he'd said that he had not been on drugs or committed any felonies or anything of this sort, and he was, but he had lied about that because he was on, was it crack? I believe.
Lots
And
of things I would
a lot
suspect,
of things.
but yeah.
Poly drug use. But he he had also was having an affair with his while he was married to his then wife at that time with Hallie Biden, which was Beau Biden's his older brother's widow. And so he was having an affair with her, and she's the one that threw the gun into the garbage. And, of course, at a school.
Okay. And so what? The gun was found.
I guess it was retrieved. Yeah, it was found, and but the thing is that the case was he was.
He lied on the application.
Right, but the other thing is that it was a big deal, a big political deal. So it involved the Republicans and the Democrats, and whose guy Trump is a convicted felon, and now also Hunter Biden is a convicted felon, and some sort of karma has been achieved, or some sort of balance.
Between like the Republican and Democrat party.
Right. And are both of them going to go to jail? or both of them going to be given a slap on the wrist?
Okay, here's the focus point for this current event, though. That's a good rundown, John. But the thing that I want to hone us in on, not the politics of it. Hell, we just lost like all of our audience because we're talking about politics, right?
Sorry.
No,
Come back.
Well, I wasn't happy.
Really, what it is about the specific piece of him lying on the federal form to purchase a firearm. And here's the exact question that is on the actual application, right? Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Right? Let me repeat that. Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic, or any other controlled substance? And there's also another one on here that is kind of ridiculous as well that I want to pull out. What was it? The wording is just ridiculous. I just saw it. Have you number 31? It's actually right after that. Have you ever been adjudicated as a mental defective, or have you ever been committed to a mental institution? Those are still the things that are on an
That's
application
archaic.
to purchase a firearm. Okay.
Yeah, it's very archaic.
If you answer yes to any of the questions amongst the other things, then you will be denied the ability to purchase a firearm. That's the law of the land, guys.
Okay, see, to me, and I have no idea what your next question is going to be.
Right?
To me, it's like when I go to the doctor and I take a like a depression screening.
Right?
And I know what the answers are going to mean if I answer a certain way.
Sure.
And so, therefore, even if I might be, say, feeling depressed nearly every day, I might only put that I'm feeling depressed some of the days because I know that, therefore, like the doctor really won't push me on, or I feel like it's just like that. If I know that I'm not going to get a gun, if I want a gun, if I select yes to one of those questions,
that's what's
well,
happening.
then heck no, I'm not going to select yes. I'm going to put no because I
Right.
want the gun.
That's the question. And so the point that I want to center in on is the discussions that we've had, guys, about addiction. Okay? Like the way that it's talked about and the way that we've adjudicated laws and the way that we engage the issues are really not accurate to the situation.
Yeah.
John, you know many recovering individuals. They are addicted to various substances and they're in recovery. Now, I'm not talking about the merits of the case of Hunter Biden. That's not my point. That's not my concern, nor I want to focus us on that.
Thank goodness.
But this, I know, right? But this issue of the form itself and the law and how we adjudicate these things, how we operate with that is hugely important because anybody and everybody who's ever been in Alcoholics Anonymous should not be allowed to purchase a firearm is what we're saying.
Well,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it says.
Well, and let's say when you go in the military, and there are people that are very reticent to say that they may actually have some problems because
100%.
they might be discharged from the military,
right?
And as a result of saying that they go to see a counselor, a
you
therapist.
Can't say it.
Yeah,
it's like don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with being in a mental institution. Now, people ask me questions all the time about, like, does this in mental health affect me? And honestly, I have not come through many instances whatsoever where it's really ever affected anybody. But by the letter of the law, if you've been in a hospital for mental health reasons, you can never buy a firearm unless you go through a process after being told no because of this form. And it's the same thing if you have any kind of issue with addiction, which is about 10 to 15% of our population.
One size fits all.
Right?
That's what they say. I mean, yeah.
This
It's
really
black or
needs
white.
to be changed.
Yeah.
It's an issue. And I was thoughtful about that listening to all of the Washington politics with Hunter. It's like, whatever about that. But, like, this happens all the time. If you or anybody you've known has ever purchased a firearm, you have had to check that box yes or no.
Yeah.
That means also, by the letter of the law, if anyone has ever used marijuana unlawfully because in 1985 through 2000 and whatever 20, Neil, it was illegal.
Well,
So
technically, it's still illegal in North Carolina.
And it is.
So,
So
where
you
we
have
are.
used unlawful drugs. Therefore, no one should be able to purchase a firearm. That's the letter of what that says. I don't know if people thought about this.
Which also means that, like, quote unquote, if you were to be like audited as a gun owner and found out that, like, okay, you had smoked marijuana one time in high school previously or whatever, that you shouldn't have been allowed to have that. Like, where?
But Victoria, she might not get this, John. You will. But Victoria, I didn't inhale.
Oh my gosh!
Have you heard that one?
Yes.
You have heard that one?
Okay.
Wasn't sure.
Yeah.
How old were you when Billy Clinton was in the office?
I wasn't born.
You weren't born?
Well, I was
oh
born
my
in-
gosh.
I was born in '93.
Are you
So was it
freaking
'93?
kidding me?
If it was before
He
'93, No?
he did that when he ran for office, and so that was the big controversy. It was it was 93 when he said he didn't inhale.
Are
So,
you
yeah.
serious? Ronald Reagan was the president.
No,
In
88.
Oh, I was getting the
And
decade messed up.
George W. No,
Okay.
Anyway.
So if it
Herbert
was,
Walker
yeah.
Bush was
Yes. I was thinking high school
So-
versus college. Yeah.
I was a little baby infant.
Little baby, but you still knew the statement. I'm proud of
Yes.
you. All right, let's get out of here. But I wanted to make sure that we spend a little bit of time because, pointing out the myths and the stereotypes, that's part of our jam here. And this is a major stereotype, and I think it's a major issue for anybody that cares about gun rights and being able to purchase firearms. I mean, that's just absolutely letter of the law. About 90% of us probably are not fit via that form.
But
to
let's
own a firearm.
say one thing though, and that is that he was under the influence. And,
Well, Hunter was a mess. You're
Was a
talking about
mess.
specifically
Yeah,
him. He was an absolute mess.
and so that's
like-
not
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other people, and I would say more people that would be lying on that account that would not have would never have any problems with crime or anything of that
Right.
sort.
Yeah.
So
Anybody who's ever smoked weed until it was
Yeah.
legal is lying on that form, or you won't get a firearm.
yeah,
That's the
Or
reality.
you do, and then you have to go through whatever appeal process it takes.
Yeah, now
to,
that I
like,
wanted to research. I just didn't have time to research that. Like, what happens if you say no, and then you have to go to the sheriff and probably have an interview and a process. I don't know if you can or not, or what the
or
deal
if it
is
just
with
shuts
that.
you down after that.
It shuts you down on the day of the purchase. Even
Yeah.
if you have a concealed weapons license, which I do, you can go and you can purchase a firearm day of right now. But you have to pass that form. If you
Yeah.
don't pass that form, it's a no. No question.
See, I feel, and we don't have to get into this today, but I feel like this leads to other types of like mental health stereotypes.
Oh yeah.
For like people-
Mentally deranged. I read it to you. What did it say? if you've
Well,
ever been deemed or adjudicated
well, like
mentally.
even
Oh, jeez.
just like a quick example, like when I didn't, okay, this is probably a mistake on my part, but when I worked for my agency job, I did not sign up for short-term disability when I got hired. That was because I was not fully informed of what it was. That you needed that to have maternity leave. And so,
Ouch.
so before I got pregnant and I was trying to get short-term disability, they denied me short-term disability because I had anxiety and because I had ADHD and because I took medication for it.
Yeah.
They said, well, nope, because like, even though I've never had to call out of work for my anxiety or my ADHD, I've never like missed work because of it.
Stigmatizing.
And so
you.
like because of that, I didn't have short-term disability
Wow.
when I went on maternity
Seriously?
leave, and like after
It
my
is-
PTO was used, I didn't get paid for the rest of my maternity leave.
Wow.
Working for FMLAs or short-term
Yeah.
disability is the worst. It is the
So
worst.
my one advice from that is when you get a new job, sign up for anything and everything because you can always sign up for it later, but
You don't know when
usually
you're
it's
gonna
in
need it.
those first 30 days you get to sign up for it.
And
But anyways,
people, listen,
but
I
I
just-
think that leads to other things that say like, okay, well, just because I have a mental health like diagnosis doesn't mean I don't deserve, or
Right.
it doesn't mean I can't handle things or,
It's
or whatever.
it's really rampant with stereotypes and stigmas and such. And as much as we're better about all of this nowadays, it still very much has a life.
Yeah.
So let's go into this. So what is the difference between conflict and problems? Which comes first in the apology and forgiveness cycles, apology or forgiveness? And then how to resolve conflicts. So what do y'all think I mean by the difference between conflicts and problems? That those are different.
I can kind of I don't know if I can put it into words, but I can feel
think-
yeah,
Yeah?
I would feel like there's a difference, possibly.
Are we thinking in terms of conflict? Sounds like more of a formal process, and problems are something that is the everyday events that we get into, or we find ourselves in situations, not necessarily with other people, but a conflict is usually with another person or even an agency.
Yeah, I think we're thinking
I
on
see
the
the same
same
thing.
same
Yeah.
line, right? I mean, conflict to me. I mean, how many people out there, you listening? I'm talking to you. Just raise your hand in the air. We can see you, not really, but do you have conflict
That's the romper
avoidance?
room.
Do y'all have conflict avoidance?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, how common is it that people are really wanting to avoid problems also, but especially conflict? Like, I find this to be a huge issue.
Do you know how many people sit down in our chairs and say those exact words?
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying it. I mean, this is real out of our office.
Avoidance.
This is our office all day long. And so I want to normalize and specifically differentiate, John, kind of like you did. Conflicts happen all the time. They're normal. We are needing to have them. Yeah, we work through them, but they're a singularity. They're events. And there's kind of a formal way you can deal with them. Yeah, you get your norms between your husband and wife or parent-child or families or whatever. You know, we have conflicts, and I think there's no need to be afraid of them. That's what we want to kind of calm down with. Problems are a little bit different. I almost see that as a little bit more chronic. Like when you have a problem, you have a pattern that isn't good, and we need to change the patterns, which is what we do.
Oh, okay. I see how you're saying.
You see, you know, we do in counseling all the time with like counseling towards changing patterns and problems that are there, and maybe resentments that are held deeply or whatnot. That's not necessarily conflict.
But when you get two people together, there's going to be a possibility and a probability of some sort of conflict.
Right. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen because people have two different histories.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Two different perceptions, two different experiences, two different, everything. Psychology systems, beliefs, morals, whatever. Even in your family, even brother and sister. So I really wanted to normalize that and look at how conflicts happen all the time, and we don't need to be fearful. So ChatGPT says conflict, a natural and inevitable part, as you said, John, of human interaction that arises when two more parties have incompatible goals, needs, values, or interests. I like your thoughts a little bit better, John. It's like,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Oh, you are too, my friend.
Characteristics: nonviolent disagreement, potential for positive outcomes, normal in relationships. There's emotional responses in these conflicts and stuff. But I just see them as shorter time frames, specific instances, maybe even normal conflicts between monthly budgetary talks in a household. But that's a conflict that might repeat. You get into problems when you start looking at the patterns, behavior, chronicity,
Right.
emotional insecurities, fear-based feelings, right?
Yeah. If a person does not feels insecure about himself or herself, no matter what one does positively as a partner or something, until that person is able to see that they're worthwhile and worthy of love,
Right.
Then there's always going to be a conflict, I think.
There's a grind.
And there's always going to be a problem there. So
Is there a problem in the way that we're talking about it, though? I want to differentiate that because I think that there's a conflict, and that needs to be resolved. And by the letter of the word, of course, yes. You have a problem when there's a conflict. I mean, I don't want to be anal about it, but I just really want to differentiate that so that
Yeah.
there isn't as much fear. Oh God, it's going to be a problem if we talk.
Is that a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
No, it's just that I've heard that before, that they said we've had this problem for 40 years or whatever, or 30 years,
Right.
and it just never changes.
Right.
And so there's these little skirmishes, and so you could look at them as possibly of a conflict, but it's something much greater than that. It's an underlying issue with personality, character, self. I'm not sure, but
Absolutely. Yeah. There's just let's move on for time purposes to normalize that and talk about when you have conflicts. How do you guys work with the apology, forgiveness cycles that go on? Like, can we give a direct answer to, sadly, sorry, you listener, it was a trick question about, which comes first, apology or forgiveness? How do you guys work with the apology, forgiveness cycles?
yeah. Well, it's interesting because you have two different parties. Okay, if there's a which I evidently I'm learning. I'm still learning on a curve in terms of marital issues.
Okay,
But
right.
but the thing is, I see that if there's a real state of unforgiveness, and that person is so hurt by what's gone on into the relationship, whether it actually happened or it's perceived that way, all the apologies in the world are not going to be effective. There has to be forgiveness. There has to be a spirit of forgiveness with a person, or willing of the person to say, I'm willing to forgive. I need time. And so the apologies, they're in tandem. They go with the apology, but the apology has to be authentic. It has to come from the authentic self, not something I'm saying this to please the person.
So which one comes first, though?
Chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Well, if we can't figure it out in nature, how are we going to figure it out in our relationships? It was.
So
I'm being a little tongue in cheek there. I'm being
Right.
cheeky, but
love cheeky.
yeah, I think there has to be a predisposition on the person that has been wronged to forgive and to accept an authentic apology.
Yeah, I feel like you're leaning a little bit to, like, you have to have a forgiveness state in your relationship.
You have to have that bud, that germ, that flower that's gonna result in full
And
forgiveness.
if you don't have it, it lands on
But-
deaf ears.
Can I clarify? And this just might be me having an ADHD moment.
Okay, what's up?
But are we saying, like, okay, if John and I are in conflict and I'm the one that did something wrong, right?
Right.
Are we saying, like, which comes first, me apologizing or him forgiving me?
Right.
That's what we're saying, right?
That's what we're saying.
Instead of like which one comes from the same. Okay.
Right.
Well, in my point of view, how can he forgive me for something if I don't ask for the apology, other than him forgiving himself, like forgiving me on his own without me asking? But then I don't know that.
Right.
Like, there's not been any.
I love
like,
that you said that, and here's why I love that you say that.
Is
Because when you really get into the nuts and bolts of this, and in real relationships and in real time, you might have the answer. And I already tipped it to where, it's a trick question. It's not really a trick question. It's just so commonly held a belief that you have to apologize to me first, and then I will forgive you when you have done an unkind or an unjust act or whatnot.
Yeah, but then, okay, we have these conversations.
That's not the case.
Yeah, because then I've had this conversation recently. Like, what happens when the person who you need to forgive is dead?
Sure.
And therefore, they can't give the apology.
That's
so yeah,
something
like
we deal with a
you've-
lot.
You've got to be able to figure out how to forgive them
Right?
without being able to like talk to them about it because
Why?
they're not here.
Here's the big deal to me. Why?
There you go. Why?
Why?
Well, because if you, I mean, a lot of times the way we approach forgiveness is if it holds you back more than anything.
Exactly.
And so, like, if John isn't forgiving me, that doesn't affect me
No, it doesn't.
because I'm not the one that he for whatever reason, feels like he needs to forgive me for something that I did. And so, it's not doing anything to me. It's for him.
Well,
more than
Forgives
anything.
for
Okay.
him. Yes.
for
Yeah.
him, yeah,
And the
that's
apology is more for me.
Correct.
when I get couples, and there's this sense that they cannot let go. In other words, I'm not going to forgive you. You can apologize. Now, whether the apology is heartfelt or real or whatever, even the person that may be apologizing is in a process of hopefully will be growing. But the person that holds on to that holds on to their hurt and their anger, and
Sometimes it's a vice grip.
they're not going to be able to grow. They're not going to be able to be free. And so it's important to have
Stuck.
the grounds potential for forgiveness.
Well,
Right.
and what I don't know if y'all do this with your people, but with my people, I always work a lot with like, you can forgive, but not forget. Like, just because we're forgiving someone for something that they did.
Do you know the definition of forgiveness? I have this in my office. If you see on YouTube, I'm pointing to. No, you use it, Neil. He grabs my child's
The
dictionary.
child's book dictionary. Yeah,
He grabs my child dictionary to put the camera at a certain angle. And I have that in my office because I, many years ago, looked at this definition and loved it. So simple. And it's in a child's dictionary. So I love
Yeah.
to take this complicated situation
Yeah.
with a person sitting on my chair or couch, open up a child's dictionary and turn them to the page of forgiveness. And it will say, to let go of anger against. That's what the definition is.
So that doesn't mean that you have to forget the awful thing that they did to you. But
Nor
you,
lose boundaries.
Right.
Nor
But
be a doormat.
you can let go of the anger.
Right.
I love that.
Right.
Actually, ironically enough, last week when I was in your office for that joint session we
Right.
did, I was looking at that and I remembered you had a word in there that you showed and I couldn't remember the
That's the word.
And then that's so funny that you bring that up now.
That's the
I was
word.
like, what is that word that he uses for that?
Forgiveness.
Well, I knew he used the
Forgive.
child dictionary for a specific word in therapy because we've talked about it
She
before on
must
the
have heard. Yeah.
podcast.
Okay.
But I couldn't remember, and so it's just funny that he brings it up
Yeah.
today
Okay.
because
That's why it is. Look, there is a dynamic interaction that happens. John, we'll use me and you again. Everybody's in
Okay.
conflict with you today. Victoria is, and
Yeah,
I am, I
geez,
guess,
Yes.
right? So when you and I are in conflict, generally speaking, or if there's an event or a problem even between you and I, can we agree that generally you're not going to be perfect, and nor am I.
All
So
right.
there's probably going to be
I'm going to
something-
be a little defensive.
yeah, and I'm going to
Okay.
be a little terse or
Yeah.
defend back. And so we both have probably done something to take responsibility
Right.
for. And also, we both have to have that task where I'm having that spirit, as you so eloquently discussed, of an attitude of forgiveness and then an active action of letting go of anger against. There are 4 tasks, is my point.
Okay.
You have the task to forgive me.
Right.
I have the task, in no order, to apologize to you. And I have the task of forgiving you. And you have the task of apologizing to me.
Right.
All 4 usually is what needs to happen. And there really isn't any order. Because as you said, Victoria, when you apologize, that's kind of for you. You are taking your guilt and your shame and your I feel bad, so I need to apologize. It's you don't have the other person doesn't have to accept it or
Yeah.
not.
Sometimes I don't make it personal again here.
Okay.
But, sometimes my wife and I have to do that several times.
All the time.
All the time, several times before it really is resolved.
Yeah.
But it is resolved. The conflict is resolved.
Yes.
And so we are able to grow past it.
Right.
Yeah.
And people struggle, John, with this so much. I mean, I do not like having anybody upset with me. So it's like I struggle to, keep my cool or be in that moment and whatever. So, when I apologize, I mean, I am taking that off of my chest and taking responsibility for it. And then also when I am forgiving, I am letting go of my anger. I don't want to be in a resentful state. I mean, I have had people in situations where they have an affair, they let go of the affair, and the other partner has no idea, and they're wanting to get that off the chest. They're wanting to apologize. They're wanting to feel better.
Even though their partner has no idea that that's
No
what they
idea.
did.
And guess
Yeah.
what? If you're going to do damage, then oftentimes the suggestion is to not reveal that.
Yeah.
And you have to then live with that,
Yeah, it definitely has to be something that you can
Horrible.
live with.
right? It's tough.
Yeah, but we don't talk about character enough.
No.
And I think that builds character
To
ultimately.
admit and apologize.
Yeah, but you don't want to, if it hurts the person. I mean, that's an AA step,
It is a step in AA.
You apologize, but if it hurts the other person and it causes them more harm,
Don't do it.
Don't do it. You have to live with that. You share it with your
Yeah.
sponsor. You share it,
Right.
in other ways.
Or you come to therapy and you talk about it with
And-
Chris, John, or I,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
whoever, but you don't have that conversation with your spouse if that's the example we're going off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned this actually from AA.
Yeah.
I heard somebody telling the story. It's a classic story. They're making amends, and it's all about this apology forgiveness cycle. And they're making amends to all of their co-apartment mates, I guess, door to door. And so, he goes to the first door, top floor, and he knocks on it. The person opens the door and says, "Hey, I'm so-and-so. I live in, 203 downstairs, and I want to make amends. I want to take responsibility for, loud parties that I had and drunken states. I'm getting sober and clean, and and he had this spiel that he went through and said, "Hey, I just want to stop by and tell you, man, I apologize. I'm sorry." And door after door, the persons are like, "Oh, that's great. I'm glad you got sober. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. It's okay. Don't worry about it, man. We're good." Door after door. Finally, he came to a door. He knocked on the door. Do you know this story, John?
No,
Yeah.
this sounds good.
He knocks on the door and he does his spiel. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I live 203 and I'm making amends. I'm doing a step in the AA and blah, 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 blah. Guy looks at him. He says, "Okay, well, that's great. You know what? You were an asshole then. You're an asshole now, and I don't have any desire to talk to you anymore. Don't ever stop
No, I
by."
have heard this one. Yeah.
Right? Has the door
Yeah.
slammed in his face, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like, that did go as planned. Did I make a mistake? Did I do something wrong?" And the thing is like, no. You do the apology, and that's a step in AA that's specifically for taking responsibility and whatnot, right, John?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So in other words, it's not how they respond.
No,
I mean, it's not about.
it's not about that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you also can't control that.
Nope.
So when you apologize to someone, if I apologize for whatever it is I did to John, then
There's so much.
Yeah,
you've
it's
done.
There's
not-
so much, John.
it's not within my control, and it's not my responsibility how he reacts to my apology.
It's just not the point.
So
we
if he
blend.
chooses to forgive me, great. If
right.
not, then I have to live with the fact that he didn't forgive me.
If he chooses to
whatever.
forgive you, Victoria, good for him.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Doesn't do
John.
anything
Thank
for
you.
Victoria.
I do forgive you.
Well, thanks.
they're next door office mates.
We
maybe
do.
maybe
we
there's some
probably
stuff
yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Crack on the wall. So okay, have we hit that enough? Because I think that's
Yeah.
really
So.
people get twisted about that.
Yeah.
Shout
But-
out to Cass, by the way. Hey, I see you on YouTube, and yeah, we need to get the forms revised from earlier on in the show.
But yes, I do think that the bottom line is the apology is for you, the forgiveness is for the other person,
And
or
when-
vice versa. It is for you, the individual. It is not for the other person. It is for you.
And when there's a problem, usually there's all 4 tasks in no specific order that need to happen. And to your point, John, probably multiple times.
Yes,
You know,
because there's time passes, and so situations change, people change a little bit, you not so much, and then basically you end up having conflict again.
or even just with the same conflict, I'm saying you may have to forgive multiple times,
Right.
Because it comes
Exactly.
back and you forgive again, and you comes back.
Well,
and you
I've seen
forgive
that
again.
particularly with people that have suffered horrific abuse.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Physical or sexual abuse.
Probably
they
have to
have
forgive
to-
1,000 times.
Yeah. It's like the peeling the onion, and so there's a new hurt that's revealed. And so you have to go through that whole process again. But each time there's a catharsis that takes
Less
place.
and less and less remains.
Right.
Question. And we don't have to touch on this if this is
You
not
say
related.
that from time to time.
I see.
You're fine.
That's my anxiety. I don't want to and the people pleaser in me.
Well,
But how do you feel like this relates to when people feel like they're the ones, like that they're being forced to apologize for something or ask forgiveness for something that they don't necessarily feel like they should have to do? Like, for example, in an abusive relationship, the victim feeling like they're the ones that have to say sorry for burning the pizza in the oven and for getting like the crap beat out of them, and then they're like, or just in different situations, like I know a lot of times in couples, like there's times where, especially I think it's more towards like the apologizing, but feeling like you have to say sorry for something that you're not necessarily like sorry for,
I get
or
what you're
something
after.
that wasn't really like within your control to apologize for, you know?
I get what you're after, and I feel like there's a lot there that's confusing with boundaries
Right.
and power structures in a
Like
relationship.
dynamics, yeah, all the things.
And different things that would cause you to apologize when you really don't need to offer an apology. Also, probably cause you to forgive something when the other it was just your perception.
yeah.
There wasn't anything really there.
maybe-
Although, if you feel shame and guilt for what you did, apology is fine. And they may feel shame and guilt for burning a pizza. If you need to get that off your chest, okay. But
Yeah.
you're describing somebody who's in fear.
Yeah, because I think, and maybe this is just me projecting because this is my own
did
life.
you burn the pizza?
No, although I have burned pizza before, yes. Not on purpose. But like growing up a lot, I used to something would happen and I would instantly be like, oh my gosh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And
Yeah.
but I didn't really do
It's people pleasing too.
yeah. And so part of me is like, wait, that's probably just a people pleasing
Yeah.
part is like, I don't want to piss anybody off or ruin anybody's day. So I'm just going to apologize even if I don't
Codependent
need
people
to.
will apologize 10 times over and have done nothing but be sweet.
I'm probably also slightly codependent in relationships as well.
There's a lot that goes into that. I mean,
Okay.
I think that's a rabbit
yeah.
hole a little bit.
Yeah.
But John, can you sum us up there? Because I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Well, I think one is that it has to be an authentic situation where there's abuse is never a place where you say you're sorry because you have an abuser that could bully you or intimidate you or cajole you to something, and so that is never appropriate to take the blame onto yourself. It's
Right.
it's only when there's so that would give the idea is that there is an equality in that relationship, and so if you have I would say in a healthy, well balanced relationship, there is an equality there where a person can apologize for or for doing something,
Gotcha.
but they're kind of equal. They're on equal standing, and I think hopefully that's where most of our relationships, more of our relationships, are going.
We have an awesome transition conversation for our conversation on YouTube, and the statement is, if in their view, if the apology is not honest or sincere, it's not an apology.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
listen to this though.
Bingo.
Have you ever heard of Gary Chapman?
Yes.
Love languages,
We've
right?
all heard love languages.
All right. Did you hear that he wrote another book about forgiveness styles, just like the love
No,
languages?
No, I did
not.
not. Was
Right?
not aware of that.
He's got an entire different book that didn't get as much play. I don't know why, because it's equally as powerful as what happens with the love languages. And so I don't have the title of the book because I just know the material. I've thought about it a long time, but it's something like the five styles of forgiveness or apology.
Lord. Okay.
And listen to the 5 that he identified. I saw him talk about it live. He came to my church and gave a talk, and I was able to go see him live. And he made the joke. He's like, look, it's nothing about 5. We didn't research and try to find 5. It's just like that's just what came up. The 5 languages of love and the 5 languages of apology. The first one is expressing regret. The second one is accepting responsibility. The third one is making restitution. The fourth one is genuine repenting. And Victoria, you said something a little bit ago that I'm willing to bet a bottom dollar that your style of apology is this last one, requesting forgiveness.
Maybe.
Did you hear her say that earlier, John?
Yeah.
She's like, well, if he doesn't ask me for forgiveness, like, I can't. And that's what Gary's getting at here. He really identified a really important thing that if you're offering an apology, you have to speak it in the language that the person is talking about. Our comment on YouTube leads me to believe that they are a person that is asking or looking for a genuine repenting. And that is to say the genuine words of, I am sorry.
But
And there's
meaning
no
it.
buts. There's no qualifications. There's no anything.
making excuse.
no
not trying to
excuses.
justify yourself.
Right.
But
It's just, I am sorry. And Gary told the story of somebody who's like living in a state of anger and not having forgiven. And the partner's like, I've apologized 100,000 times and I don't know what you want. And he looked at Gary and he's like, she never said I'm sorry. Like, wow.
yeah.
Like all you'd have to do is say those
A genuine
2,
statement.
3 words.
The other thing is, like you say, Victoria, like if I don't ask for your forgiveness in my apology in some way, you might never even realize that I have apologized. Now, again, I apologize because it's me. I benefit
Right.
from that. But still, I am offering something to you.
Yeah, like
and
if
you can't
if you don't
even
say the
hear
words
it,
like, "Do you forgive me?"
That's
or "I
a
hope you
gift.
forgive me." I hope you can forgive me. Like,
Right.
If you say I apologize and you mean it authentically from the very core of your soul, that's a gift.
but
You're
I can't
offering.
even receive that gift, John. And I'll switch gears. I can't even receive that gift if I am in the space of expressing regret. Like you might be giving me a heartfelt, very hard for you gift of apology, but you never expressed regret about your behavior to
Yeah.
me. So therefore, I don't even hear it. I can't
You're right.
receive the gift. I felt like this
So that
was
has to be
amazing.
a repentance is something. It seems like it's old fashioned, but it's something I think we need a lot more of.
Do you know which one of these applies to you the most? Think about it again. Join along with us listening here, right?
Yeah.
Do you look for somebody to express regret to you when they're apologizing? Do you want that person to take responsibility for themselves? Do you want them to make restitution? Like if they're going to apologize to you, then
The
they need to
hardest thing for me in my forever time being a pastor
Okay.
is to say I regret. I deeply regret.
Right?
You know, I've worked in institutions, academic institutions, where there's never and it's particularly if there's a disparity in power, the person in authority may have wronged an underling or something, or a relationship, or like a kid, being a parent. And
Boy.
to say that I regret doing this to you, I apologize. I know that I cannot imagine how deeply this has hurt you for my actions.
Right.
I've never, and that's so hard. It's like Fonzie.
Yeah.
I'm
You struggle
to
even have it come out.
Yeah,
and it might be very well that your style of apology, and thank you, Neil. He says the 5 languages of apology is the title of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the reality of it is you can get stuck in such a simple thing, and yours might be, if I ever have to apologize to you, John, I'm going to remember like expressing my regret that this happened. It really speaks to you.
You're right.
And you could receive the gift. I bet that's your love style. Your style.
My apology style.
Your apology style.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's important for me to hear regret.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care about regret for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you regret it or not, you know, I think I'm kind of a sincere apology guy. Like, you know, I don't really want to be requested forgiveness. That's not my thing at all. But I would love to hear what you have as a plan. If you're
but
not
I
going
want
to
to say this
right?
is that,
Right.
but that's the other thing is, and I hope this is for growth is that you may have a preference for this, but to be able to let go of the of ultimately of the anger and
Can't
all
we be
those.
multilingual, John?
We certainly can.
Right?
So,
We can speak Klingon in this.
is
case.
this for, again, another clarification question? Hi, John.
Hi.
Is this for how you apologize to other people, or how you want other people to apologize to you?
Well, obviously, we're so myopic. It's a good question, Victoria. I love that. In my view, we're so egocentric. We're so myopic in our view. We're so selfish-minded that if my apology style is one way, I expect you to do that for me, and I will do
Same
my
with
way to
love-
you. Right?
Same with the love languages.
It
Yeah.
is. It really is.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
gosh,
then I'm
I have
almost-
couples beat themselves up with their love languages.
Yeah.
Oh,
But,
yes.
Yeah,
That's
horrible.
Right. What do you
think-
mean by beat themselves up?
Well, beat each other up, you
Right.
know.
And use
we-
it against each other.
Each
Right.
other. That's what I meant.
Yes.
But I guess my thing is because while we were sitting here talking about this, while he brought up the kid stuff, it makes me think of like kids who grow up to be adults. And obviously, kids who grow up to be adults, but the kids, like when they become adults and they're in our therapy offices and they say, like, you know, I hold this resentment towards my mom, like, because she did this. And, you know, she's never apologized for it. And so, like...
That's a buzzword in my ears now.
Yeah.
She may have, but go ahead.
Right, yeah. But also, like, we approach it from this side sometimes of, like the mom... And I'm just, like, in this example, the mom may not realize that, like, that's what she was doing.
Right.
And so then we usually have to talk about that.
You
Right.
reframe
But, like,
it.
we
Reframe,
reframe it.
right, John.
And sometimes you also have to be, like, you can still forgive her without her real, like...
Also,
without that
you don't
side.
need an apology to forgive,
Right.
guys, gals, listening. That is not a requirement.
It's not.
That
So, and that's just
hallelujah,
kinda-
amen, that is right.
But see, that's
So,
just kind of
to
what
me.
it made me think of, because I know that a lot of times kids are resentful towards things that their parents did when they were younger as adults.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so, like, then that's kind of hard if, like,
Whether you buried it or
Yeah.
not, oftentimes we are.
usually I do try to them sometimes, depending on the person, I usually try to encourage them to, like, have a conversation with their parents about how they're feeling and, like,
yeah.
what happened and how they
Gosh,
perceived
that
it.
could be
And if
so
whether,
difficult, though.
but then sometimes, and this might be going down a rabbit hole, because that goes into the perception of, like, the kid may have perceived it one way, but that's not what the parent was intending by how they were delivering said
Right.
whatever.
Again,
And
because
so
they may
then
have just
you're-
speaking a different language.
Right, yeah, and whatever. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down. But anyways.
Okay. Yeah. That was
in the-
Victoria's abrupt stop.
Yeah, sorry, that was my ADHD. I'm just gonna stop.
Okay, let's transition as we're speeding along with time. Conflict resolution. First of all, am I right? John, is that an old term? Victoria, do you know this term? Is this something that
Conflict
you
resolution?
yeah, is that a thing as much anymore?
Yeah, that's what I had in my school resources thing. I had a drawer for conflict resolution.
Okay, awesome.
/ problem solving.
Okay, awesome. Because I
It's
haven't,
all one drawer.
I haven't really heard anybody in trainings or conferences or it doesn't seem like this is talked about as much anymore. Is that just
Conflict
me?
resolution?
Yeah.
No.
I still get people in my office today. Like I had someone last week.
No, we do it all the time.
No, I had
but-
someone specifically ask.
Right.
I need
okay.
conflict resolution skills.
Oh, perfect.
And I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Okay.
cool, I can do that.
Sounds like my answer is no then. Yeah. Good. I'm glad. So how do y'all deal with conflict resolution? I have actually a cool activity that I think is cool, if people want a formal way to go about things. But do you have a task? What's in your drawer, Victoria? Like, what are your all's go-tos to answer the question that this person evidently is asking you this week?
Yeah.
I need conflict resolution skills.
Okay, for kids, it's very different. For kids, we do things like activities like hug for a minute.
Go. Okay.
Or like I used to my school counseling internship, the school counselor there.
So the minute-long hug, that's one.
Yeah, she would like the kids would always like do a handshake and something I can't remember the rest of it. But I definitely think that like we approach it differently or at least I approach it differently for kids than I do for adults. Adults is more like here are kind of like the steps we go through. Let's talk about it. Kids
What are the steps?
Heck, if
Do you
I
have
can
specific
remember.
steps? Yeah.
Yeah, I have like different ones.
There are different ones out there.
De-escalate.
Yeah.
So take
I can't remember off the top of my head.
don't do blaming. If
Yeah.
you could
Avoid blame.
avoid blame.
blaming.
Yeah.
Or defensiveness.
Defensiveness, which is
The whole active listening, like
Yeah.
giving each other time to talk.
but
and
that also
respond.
kind of takes you outside of yourself, and so you're not so entrenched if you're having to do an exercise. And I think this is what's beautiful about exercises. With adults, exercises are very similar to what kiddos would get. Just do it in a different way. Part of that would be doing perhaps even icebreakers that would approach talking about conflict, where people that are in conflict, and I'm looking in terms of conflict in groups, not just individuals or
There's
couples.
group conflict also.
Yeah, and be able to work through that, and that's one of the things that I'd had more training in terms of group conflict as opposed to couples conflict. But there's people that are very adamant, and they're so enmeshed in their anger that
There's a clinical term.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Enmeshed in
But
their
no
anger.
jargon.
Yeah.
No jargon here.
No,
John.
you're fine.
So, is that by doing something that might even seem frivolous on one hand or superficial, might actually take away some of the enmeshment or the rigidity, and people will become more open to listening. And so that's active listening is another.
It's funny. There's a study that I heard with a science experiment. I guess I'm going to go into it just because it's right on point and demonstrates what you're talking about there. That really enables you. And my friend Adrian made a funny statement about this that I thought, man, that's on point. In fact, he's the one that told me about it.
Adrian.
Hey, Adrian. So the study was set up around your hand being put into a bucket of ice water,
Yeah.
which causes great pain.
Yes.
Okay. And the idea is pain threshold and pain tolerance. And so they did different comparisons with hundreds of people, maybe thousands, I don't know. It seemed like a good study at the time. Anyway, there was a baseline of how long people typically will keep their hand in the ice bucket, to score as long as they could. But it wasn't that long. And then they did the same thing with two strangers in the room together and measured those times. And then they took the strangers together and they had them play a game so that there was some time to get to know each other, and then did the hand in the bucket. And what do you think happened with that last group?
They could take the pain
Yeah.
longer.
They could take the pain longer.
And the
So
ambiguity and all the uncertainty,
Yeah.
you can take it.
Right. Adrian made the point. He's like, if you're going to have world leaders meet together, maybe they should play a game of Parcheesi or something before they hang out and start talking about
risk,
the wars and everything going on, right?
Playing icebreaker.
But it was a silly little icebreaker and stuff, like you said, John. You're like, yes. Because people otherwise are so charged up, so emotional, so in a state of fear, and they can't take the conversation.
One of the things, just 9/11, when that happened, the first thing that we did, a couple of pastors, and we had a prayer service, and it was interfaith, and we invited an imam to come and pray with us.
An imam.
Yes,
and that is a
Muslim holy,
Muslim holy leader.
a clergy, clergy,
It's like a Muslim pastor, basically.
Yeah, and because he was scared because he was afraid that we were going to take it out on him. I mean, for what happened.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And this was in Kansas City.
Oh man.
And that interfaith grouping and gathering together, because we had that shared sorrow, perhaps shame, from his point of view, that even though he had nothing to do with it, or his congregation, mosque didn't have anything to do with it. It was casting dispersions on an interpretation of his religion, his faith.
Right.
And for us, it was our anger and fear that we were going to have this happen. And so by gathering together and doing a common liturgy, basically, with our different prayers from our different traditions, but we had a liturgy together, we were able to resolve.
And a liturgy is?
A liturgy is like an order of readings, order of worship, prayers, that sort of thing.
The Our Father, something specific. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's really powerful. I mean, you need to understand when you're dealing with somebody that you're in a charged state with, you have got to deal with that emotion and level yourself down so that you can really be productive and give and receive accurately and fully. And that's, listen, I call it in my marriage book the golden egg. It's not a small chapter. It's a full introduction thing, and it's really about fostering that safe space that you create between two people. And boy, it's
so you're
elusive.
looking at it like a sacred space, a holy space.
It's elusive, though, John.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you think you have it, you probably don't, and if you do, you're gonna lose it,
right? And
you have to build it back.
So there's an intentionality of always being proactive and always thinking, how do we be open to this next moment?
Let me say that again. If you think you have it, you probably don't have that safe space. And if you do have it, you're probably going to lose it, and you have to recreate it over and over and over again.
I just think that you need to find another word to rhyme with the resolution.
And it would be even better? Okay, I'll work on that, John.
So,
sorry I disappointed you, sir.
No,
I apologize for having let you down.
I deeply regret that.
I'm sorry. I failed again. No. I regret that I did not come up with a rhyme for you.
Yeah. No, I regret that I didn't hear that from you. So
okay, let's just stop while we're behind. So here's my specific steps, though. With a conflict, and then I've got a conflict resolution in 3 steps that'll resolve any conflict, I believe.
Okay.
I did a whole show on that many eons ago, probably like episode 53 with Craig. Oh, it's episode 40? Oh, I wrote it down. Yeah, on episode 40, I really want you to listen to that because we took a deep dive on what I think are 3 steps to solve any conflict. Thank you, Neil. Episode 40. You have to go to the website, though, is the only place that you can get that. So there's an activity, though, that I've kind of, I don't know. I feel like these things that we have, guys, are like too mechanical, kind of awkward, quirky. Like, I don't know that people use them as much, although they want to have them, But this is one that I heard I think is pretty cool. You just sit down with a piece of paper, person A with their piece of paper, person B with their piece of paper, and you write all 3 steps out. The first one is describing the events. Short. Paragraph or so. The second is a one-liner identifying what's the problem. And then the third step is as much or as long as you want to go on what's the solution or solutions, right?
Yeah.
And you sit there and you write it all out, and then you come together. And the reason why you do that is because you will remember perceptively things differently. And so simply what are the events is not a discussion. You don't even talk about it. You just understand this is what you experienced, this is what I experienced, these are the events. They're not debatable, they're just shared. Then you go to the second one. If you're not defensive and fighting, I didn't say that, it doesn't matter. These are the events that I am operating on. Here is the specific problem. Now guess what? How many times do you think two people see the exact same thing as being the problem?
Rarely.
Right? So you stop,
Rarely.
you take problem number 1 and problem number 2. You've already got one of the problems already solutioned out, and you write out solutions for the other problem. You come back, you decide which one you want to address first, and then you share the solutions. You go to the second problem, you share and you talk about the solutions. It can cut through a lot of nonsense, but I just feel like things like that are a little bit mechanical, and people struggle to really kind of go at it with a method that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I also think that, and I don't know what y'all's, I don't know. I'm just gonna say it instead of rambling.
Don't hash it.
You're a rambling man.
Thank you. A woman.
A rambling woman. Lord,
Anyways,
I'm just a rambling woman.
I also think that the approach is different when you're sitting in front of a couple versus when you're sitting in front of an individual who's trying to solve a conflict.
Well, how the hell's an individual solve a conflict?
Well, no, like
I'm confused.
when an individual brings a conflict that they're having, like with their
Spouse or partner.
their someone. Okay, maybe this is a mute point. I don't know.
Go further. I don't know. Is it? I don't think it's a moot point.
No, I just think you approach it differently. Like, I would do something like that, but we would just talk about it, not write it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I do think people struggle with the mechanical nature of things like this, and I have the same way, Victoria. I just talk about it with people and try to instill some of these patterns, and I lean heavily on EFT. I kind of go there, but okay. Let me wrap us up a little bit then with the 3 steps to solve any conflict. All right, sounds flashy. Sounds interesting. I hope you're kind of curious, because really this is 3 steps to solve any conflict, and I find that this is pretty accurate. First thing is you tell the person to stop doing what they're doing to you. Okay? There's an assertiveness in there. Second is you back off and you give them space. And the third is simply you get third-party assistance to resolve the issue if you need so. And if you go through all 3 of those steps, you'll solve most problems just with the first step. Now, also, there's a lot of variations on how to do each one of those steps. Mm-hmm. It might be, tell the person to stop, make a joke, or, layer out
diffuse the situation.
Cool. Diffuse, de-escalate, Yeah. Well, de-escalate's actually the second one. Mm-hmm. There's many ways to de-escalate and pull back.
Just to back off.
To back off. You're not trying to be aggressive. And then...
See, I thought as soon as you said stop, I was going to sing Stop in the Name of Love. Yeah, so.
I'm glad you waited just a moment, because that fit better in that moment there. Uh-huh. Yeah. What do you think about my 3 steps to resolve any conflict?
It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's very good, I think.
I'm
in conflict with you. I think it's very good.
Uh-oh. John's trying to be in conflict with you.
Yeah.
And you're distracted. What the heck?
Sorry. I use a simple thing a lot of times with my clients. I may have talked about it here before, but I use it's very similar, like the 15-minute rule, which is like when you're in an argument or you feel like, or you're in an argument.
15-minute limit?
No, 15-minute rule, which
what's
is like when you're in an argument and you feel like it's not getting anywhere, someone can call the 15-minute rule and you separate for 15 minutes. Kind of go in different rooms, go do your own thing, distract yourself for a little bit, cool your brain, cool your mind, gather your thoughts, and then you try to come back together and come to a resolution. Yeah.
So the way you would do that, though, is that instead of trying to do it immediately at that situation, you would say, okay, when we have conflict, we need to there's going to be times in the future when we need to separate and walk away.
Yeah.
Okay. In other words,
For 15 minutes.
because
And then come.
when people are so
Yeah.
involved in their anger, they're going to follow you into the other room. That
Right.
person may follow you. So you might want to say,
Yeah, there's definitely boundaries and rules that we talk about that go along with that rule. With that.
Therapist,
thing,
that's
but-
why I asked you guys. I figured we could go all night with the different things than sort of your
For sure.
go-tos, how you operate, what are your kind of tendencies, because we've all come across a lot of different, facets and activities to kind of do in resolving things. But I think we need to wind down and run out of here.
Yeah.
Running the runway down to the end here, though, I just want to normalize conflict. And, isn't it
Yeah.
wonderful when we work through something and you get to a place where you felt heard, you feel good about the solutions and moving forward, we're going to be in a better place. It's like there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of opportunity when you're in a conflict. And I think people are fearful about that. And guys, listen, you listening need to understand there's no need for the fear that is so prominent. Look at it as an opportunity. Calm your emotional self internally, and you will find a wonderful engagement with the person that you're about to engage with. In conflict, yes, and that's okay. Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts, comments? Then?
No, I wonder your third party more for problems. You touched on that a little bit. I think conferences like marriage retreats are a good idea. Couples
Oh.
retreats.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's you're stopping the escalation, you're defusing, and you're also being able to reflect.
So you're pointing out on my show notes the thoughts of what are the third party places and conferences and marriage conferences and stuff. Right, I had that on there. I'm glad you pointed that out because we hadn't said that. And it's a third party, and it's a wonderful way to, hold me tight conferences are wonderful. Specifically, honestly,
Yeah.
You ever hear of them?
No, but that sounds good. I
Hold
like
Me
to
Tight is amazing. It's really
Hold me tight. That's from the Thompson Twins.
good. It's a
I'm
conference.
singing
from-
it. I'm singing again.
It's a conference
So,
on the EFT patterns
Yeah.
and stuff. Sue
Yeah.
Johnson's material. So, all right, guys, let's get out of here. Go have your conflicts and be well. Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Take care. We'll
Appreciate
see
it.
you next week.
Bye.
All right, thank you. I'm confused.